Hello YouTube and welcome to another MMD PMD. I guess you can call this tutorial. I didn't really think I'd have to explain any of this, but because of some rude comments pretty much telling me I'm incompetent, I don't know what I'm doing, I shouldn't be making tutorials because of blah 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 blah. So I guess I have to inform some of you that the way when I make tutorials, I do it based on how I do things, what's easiest for me, and what my computer will handle, because sometimes, for some reason, when I get on PMD or PMX, my computer wants to immediately start lagging, especially when I start with a base. It's usually okay, but as soon as I start adding stuff onto it, it wants to lag really bad. So there's certain things that I just cannot do. So please keep in mind when I'm showing you tutorials, it's based on how I make things. Are there ways easier? There probably. I wouldn't doubt that for a second. Are there ways that are quicker? Yes, of course there are. But again, it's just how I do things. It's what I do. I'm not trying to show you guys every single button. It's just, hey, this is how I make a model. This is what I do. This is, if you want to make a model, you can do this too. That's essentially what it is. So just to clarify, I obviously know what I'm doing on this. So I guess I just felt the need to show you guys the important buttons. I'm not going to go through everything because there's a lot of, some of the buttons I have no idea what they do, so I'm not even going to bother. And some of them I've just never worked with, so I just don't know. I'm just going to show you the important buttons you're going to have to use. So I'm going to go ahead and just load up a base, so you guys can see all the crap you need to see. So we're ignoring all these, going to ignore this one, going to ignore this one, but this one we need. This is an important box. This is where all your body pieces, your skin, your clothes, your hair, etc. So this box you need here's your textures, your spheres. You can make little notes if you want to on PMX. And your tunes are in here. Don't usually mess with these. These over here, this is your edge, and what that does is you can see the face over here. It takes the lines off your characters. Personally, I prefer that. I don't like having the edge on my character. That changes the size. So if you want it thicker, you can make the black line thicker if you want. Not going to talk about these. Not going to bother with this. These will change the colors. So if I wanted to change, let's just say I want to change whatever this is, you just click on it, make it whatever, and okay, so nothing changed. This might not be really anything important. Let's go back to this. Because that was the face, so as you can see, it changes the face. That's what that does. It changes the color for you. This, you can, on PMX, you can actually change the name on it if you want. So as you can see, it stayed. You can do it for your Japanese and your English. So yeah, that's pretty much everything with this. Your bones, you will nothing. Sorry, my phone just went off. You will not have to use anything on this unless you want to change the name of the bone, and I generally would not worry about it because it's going to take you a long time to do so. This is normally just because you're deleting something. You may have to add things sometimes, but generally you are deleting something. It could be extra bones, it could be duplicates, or even, triple of bones or whatever. So yeah, occasionally you'll use this one as well. I've never used this. I'm not going to talk about this. Body is where your physics are. You will definitely have to use this probably with every single model you make. I know I have to. I normally have to delete at least one extra physics from something. This model, just from doing a quick look, probably has a lot of extra stuff on it, because generally there's not this many on a starting model, so there's probably a lot of extra crap on here. So yeah, normally you're on here just to delete stuff. Joints, occasionally you will have to use to delete extra stuff. If you look over here, you can see that all three of these have something in both of those. Don't worry about any of this stuff, but both of these have to have a bone in them. Every single joint needs to be connected to a bone A and bone B, because if not, it's pretty much going to make your MMD crash. If both of them are blank, there's a very big chance. In fact, it is a joint that has been accidentally added, left because you deleted something, etc. If only one of them's empty, just connect it to its correct bone. Not going to explain that in this video. This, remember how to use this, so I'm not going to explain it. So quick review, the only things you're really using on here are your material tab, your bone tab, your body tab, and your joint tab. Okay, so now going on to this. This should always be clicked. We're not going to talk about these. This should always be clicked at your vertices. This is your face button. You will not have to use this, like, ever. So I'm not going to talk about it. Bones, all that does, if you try to click on a bone, you'll see it won't let you click on a bone. Clicking this will let you select your bones. So make sure that you don't have that accidentally selected sometimes when you're doing certain things, because it will move the bone if you aren't paying attention. Body is exactly what it is, and holy cow, there is a lot of extra crap on this model. That just hurt my heart a little bit. Anyway, so yes, this is the physics that are on the model, and you'll be using that constantly. And this is a joint, so the only ones are on the boobs, of course, because that's the only thing that really moves. Not going to talk about these. Not going to talk about that because you don't need that on PMD. Not going to talk about that one. This one you obviously need. And on PMX, when you unclick it, that's what disappears. So as you can see, every time you click something, something disappears. So you will have to keep this up. This obviously is how you move the things you've selected. You don't use that. This occasionally you'll have to use if you have to weight items to your model. I'm not going to talk about that in this though. This I prefer to use. This is one of the things I got called incompetent for. I prefer using my subscreen and just having this up. Like, because if you guys have seen my other videos, I prefer having this up, have everything unselected except for the items that I am moving, and selecting it on here, moving it, and just watching it on here. That's just what I prefer. It's a lot easier for me. It's, whatever. I just prefer doing it that way. So, yes. Let me go ahead and check all those really quick. Okay, and then, well, I guess while I'm on here really quick, if you right-click, I will talk about these because you will use these. If you right-click, you will not use that or that. You will use that if you want to split a piece of the model or whatever it is off of its main piece. You won't use these. Check alls, obviously check all, check none, of course. Inverse checked, of course. And then delete parts is to delete something you do not need. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all you're going to use on that. This is a very, very important button that 9 out of 10 times makes my PMD or my PMX crash. As soon as, like I said before, as soon as I start adding stuff onto my model, everything starts to get really slow and it starts to crash. That's why, as great as this button is, I cannot use it because my computer just won't handle it. Because normally what I do is I'll put something on. Let's say I have hair on the model already. I would save it, load up MMD, and see if the physics worked on there. Well, that's essentially what this is for. This was another thing that I got called incompetent for because I don't use this. Well, that's because I can't. So I've never really thought about mentioning it because it just does not work on my computer. So, of course, I would just take off the bone, just have it like this. And I don't mess with any of these, but you can mess with them if you want. And so if you see this, what this is doing, if you click the bones back on, it's showing you what bones that you're on. If you click on that, it'll show you what bone you're on and whatnot. These, you can check your model to see if, facials and all that crap work if you want. But that's not really as important as just checking your physics. So how to check the physics is you come up here, press play, and the only physics it has right now is the boobs. So actually if you, it might be easier if I get a little bit closer. So you see they're like that, and if you push play, they kind of, like go down a little bit. This is a lot easier to use to quickly check to see if your model's working. Again, I just cannot use this But if your computer can handle it, I would 100% recommend using this instead of saving and getting on MMD. Lastly, these aren't really important. So on this, you're going to be using your bone occasionally, your body button occasionally, joints occasionally. You will always be using this, your MSK, this, occasionally this, your subscreen if you want, and then your transform screen if you want. And the last thing to talk about on here are these down here. This gets rid of your bones. I just showed you that on the other thing. This is all your vertices, so generally you don't want to have this clicked. This right here shows, like if you select like this, nothing is orange, but that's why this is usually selected, because if you do that, it'll turn orange. And the rest of these you don't gotta mess with. This is your physics in like wire form, which I prefer having this one and this one up because it's easier for me to see when there's a lot of extra stuff. But if you click on this, that automatically gets selected down there. So you can just use these down here if you want. And then this little box is your joints. I'm not going to talk about any of the other stuff. So that's literally about all your important buttons on PMX. So PMD, which I already have up, is not really any different. It's just kind of it's not as complicated as PMX. Complicated might not be the right word, but whatever. So let me go ahead. This isn't a base, so I probably shouldn't do that because those aren't bases. I don't want my computer to crash while I'm recording this. Go ahead and get these back. I'll just click this one. Okay, so this is pretty much same thing. Not going to worry about any of that stuff. MA box is just what it was on the other one. So on PMD, your MA box is where you put your textures, your spheres. You can click on these to change a color. I don't know what that's going to change. Let me try something else. Okay, well, so yeah, same thing. Click on these, changes the color on whatever. Your tune's usually up here. Texture here, sphere here. I think I already said that. I can't remember. So yes, you will be using this line right here. This is how you make your line go off. So this, for example, I don't know what this goes to, but if you select that, click 0, something, I don't know what went away, but the line will go away from wherever it was. This is obviously your bone, B-O-N. Don't gotta mess with this stuff unless you want to change the name. This probably has a lot of extra stuff on it too, just from looking. But yeah, normally you're just gonna delete stuff. You don't have to mess with this. Don't have to mess with this. Don't have to mess with that, or that, or that. And here is your physics. This one might actually not have. This one might not have any extra on it actually, but yes, here's your physics on here, and then here are your joints. So really quickly, what you'll be using on this one is your MA box, of course, your bone box, well, so BON box, your PH box, and your joint box. That's really all you're going to be using on here. And so now onto here, I mean, everything else is pretty much the same. You got that's the face box on here. That's your bones. That's your physics. And actually, there's not really anything extra on here, so that's fantastic. And then there's your joints, which that just has on the boobs as well. Don't mess with that stuff. On here, you actually do want to click up your D box and click your VR. That will show your vertices. After you've done your D box, come over here to V, click your MA, and that should disappear. So on here, when you select it like this, every time you select something, it will turn green, and that's just showing you what exactly you're clicking. Your C box is your control, so that's how you move everything. This is how you weight stuff, so your W is your weighting. Don't use that. Subscreen is, again, I prefer using the subscreen. I think it's significantly easier having my subscreen up. And then the T is still, it's, as you can see, it's not as good as the other one, but it's essentially the same thing. You can test it on here. I would recommend using PMX to pretty much do anything, but it's same deal with on here. And then as well, these are the same thing down here. You can get rid of that, get rid of that. I mean, I wouldn't get rid of these on here, but that's, you guys know what all this stuff does already. Select your physics, joints, and all that. So one more time on here, the things you'll be using is your B, P, J, your D with that clicked, your V with this clicked, your C box if you want to use your S box. Occasionally you'll have to use your W box, and then if you want to, you can use your T box to test the physics and stuff. Okay, guys, well, thank you for watching. I hope that quickly explaining through that stuff helped you a little bit so you can kind of just get a quick little glance at what exactly those buttons do. So if you have any comments or questions or anything, go ahead and leave them in the comment box. And if you're going to be rude, I'll just delete it. So stay tuned for the next video, which will be a very short one explaining how to load stuff up onto MMD.